The following program is rated U for universal audiences and is considered suitable for listeners of all ages.
This is a presentation of Dream Realm Enterprises, where dreams are our reality.
Greetings and salutations, friends. This is your host, Jon Russell, and this is the Magical Worlds Podcast. We're back again with you this week, talking about magic, monsters, and mayhem. Plus, we're going to interview Rachel Rumler, who actually played Selena Durnhelm, who was Rosa Durnhelm's sister. So, she also helped us behind the scenes a little bit during book 2 and book 3 by being a production assistant. Basically, she just helped me with prepare some scripts and check lines and things like that. But it was a big help, and we appreciate all the help that Rachel gave us there. Just helped me to save a little time and concentrate on the things that needed to be done, like the production. But at any rate, I want to talk a little bit about the recent episodes. Last week was kind of a longer episode, and I ended up kind of trimming it a bit because it was really overrunning. It was during our episode where we had the interview with Sarah Golding, who plays Lady Natilda. It was a pretty packed episode, so I ended up trimming some of my discussion on some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, talking about the scripts and so forth. So I kind of want to catch up a little bit on that stuff and let you know about my thoughts on the past few episodes and the story going on there. Of course, we've been focusing on Rosa Durnhelm and her party going to the elf community. She was put there on purpose by Detlor, who sort of misdirected her because they thought they were going someplace else in pursuit of Lily Fairheart, but it didn't quite end up that way. They ended up in the elven region of the Hunani tribe, and Rosa came face to face with her father and her sister and all the people she knew from her childhood. She's obviously been away for a couple of years or so and forced to go back home and face up to some of that stuff. So I kind of thought we should focus a little bit on Rosa's backstory. I like to focus on the backstories of our main characters now and again. And it was long overdue to learn a little bit more about Rosa. Hopefully in time we'll get around to learning more and more about the others, like Greybeard and people like that. Would love to get in there and explore their background a little bit more, but this time it was Rosa's turn, and I just felt it was high time we did it and a perfect chance to do so. The way it was initially written, it was pretty short because I got into it and then decided, wow, I need to get on with this Lily Fairheart story. So I kind of rushed it a bit and there wasn't a whole lot to it. So I went back and actually added a bit to it so that it would have a little bit more beef to it, a little bit more character development. It just felt so rushed the first time I wrote it. And we recorded what I wrote, of course, but I went back and added some scenes, as I've done throughout book 2 and 3. This is what you're getting is not quite how it was written. Things are breaking down a little bit differently, and some scenes have been a little mixed up, and there have been new scenes added, and a few little things have been trimmed, but for the most part, we've added more than we've taken away. So yeah, there's been a lot of that kind of stuff. Primarily, we just wanted to give you more information than what we had originally. What I had in the original scripts didn't explain every little detail, and the more and more I went over it, and the more and more we got recordings back, it just became clear to me that there were certain things that needed, gaps that needed to be filled. So we have along the way, especially that first episode or two of book 2 had a lot more new material than the scripts originally had. So I just felt that was right and proper. But getting on to what's just happened in the most recent episode, which was Into the Fire, I'm going to give you a little spoiler warning here and give you a chance. If you haven't listened to that episode, you might want to go and listen to it before you listen to me ramble on about it, because I don't want to spoil it for you, unless you don't care to be spoiled. But you have a chance right now to go and listen to that while I give you a quick clip here. Okay, getting back into it, yeah. In Into the Fire, Lily and Divine actually come to the Inn of the Broken Path, and they meet some new friends. We have Bryce Fontaine, who owns and runs the inn, and we also have Blondo Barnfeathers back with us finally, played by Wayne Hayward still. And I'm sure if you've been with this series, Magic Monsters and Mayhem, from book 1, then you know who Blondo is. Blondo traveled with Rosa and her friends during that whole quest for Freaky Fudge, back when we pretty much just played it for laughs. But he's back now, and at first I wasn't sure if Blondo was going to return or not. And there was no particular reason for that. I just didn't really have a place for him. There were going to be so many characters that I was introducing for book 2 and book 3, as it turns out. And I just didn't have, I didn't want to put Blondo in there and then him just have, a line or two here and there. I wanted it to be a significant role if he was in it. So early on, I wasn't 100% certain that he was going to be, but once I started writing it, I decided, it might be nice if Lily runs into him. And at first, she just doesn't know, she doesn't know who he is, obviously. She's not compared notes with her Uncle Waldo. So she has no idea that they have a mutual acquaintance until later. She will find that out eventually. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler going forward. That eventually they're going to discuss it, and she's going to go, "Oh, my Uncle Waldo," So I just thought that would be interesting, an interesting way to introduce Blondo into this storyline, and that he wouldn't be there for a while, and people would be kind of wondering, well, what happened to old Blondo? And so, yeah, I decided that it would be better if he was introduced a little later, and that he would, at first be helping Lily, unknowingly, that she is the relative of a friend of his. So that's all interesting, I think. And an interesting way to do it, and a more significant way of having Blondo in it, so that it's just not, he's not just there as part of the scenery. He's got a significant role to play for at least a while. So, yeah, it was nice to bring him in and introduce some of his friends. He's off adventuring on his own, and has another halfling with him named Fiona, who is currently in this series played by Gwendolyn Jensen Woodard. And then there's Plop, a dwarf who's a retired old miner that's just kind of does odd jobs and is hanging out with Blondo and Fiona just to sort of help them along in their adventure. Not that he does a whole lot more than sit and drink and fuss, but it's a fun little character, and it's a very minor character, and I decided to play that one myself. I thought it was a fun little character bit, and he doesn't have a major significant part, but, he's just along for the ride, basically, and kind of a fun character to have in there that just complains all the time, basically. Doesn't suffer fools, and he's just, he's just an old curmudgeon, and I like those kind of characters. So I decided to play that myself, and I've had, a lot of fun playing Plop. But that was basically the main point of the sequence going on in Into the Fire, which is building up to the big cliffhanger at the end of that episode, where Detlor shows up and tells Lily, you're not doing what I told you to do, and you're taking too long, and I'm going to give you a motivation to hurry up and get on with this. He does some stuff, and I'm not going to give everything away in case you haven't listened to it yet, but the big cliffhanger, of course, to this episode, and there's a big clue in the title, so Detlor sets some things in motion, being the nasty person that he is. But at any rate, it's been an interesting sequence, and finally we're introducing some new characters, and we're kind of now getting into, starting next week, it will be the second half of the season, and heading towards the end of the season, and things are going to get even more interesting, I think. We're really getting into the heart of the story now, so it's all good stuff. But, of course, right here in the middle of Book 3, we're, again, focusing on Rosa and her trip home, and that's going to play out in the next episode as well, primarily between her and her sister. The tensions that are there may find some resolution or may not. But at any rate, we have Rachel Rumler playing her sister, Selena, and we're going to talk to her in just a little bit about her character and her career and so forth. So get ready for that. I'm going to show you play you a little clip of Rachel as Selena, between her and her sister, and then we'll get into the interview.
I honestly don't know what to think of you, Rosa. You could have had everything in this world, and yet you chose to leave us. For what? Adventure? Gold? What? I simply don't understand.
I don't think you'd really understand it, even if I spent the next month explaining it to you, Selena.
So, you think I lack intelligence? It's nice to finally know just what you think of me.
You're putting words in my mouth. I never said you lacked intelligence. I just think...
What? Go on. Say it.
I just think you're stubborn, Selena. Too stubborn to even try to see my point of view.
I am trying, Rosa. So explain it to me now. Why did you leave your home? Your family, your tribe, your whole world.
The difference between you and I, Selena, is that you see the tribe as the whole world. But there's a whole world out there, Selena. A world I always wanted to see for myself.
Hi, Rachel, and welcome to the Magical Worlds podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us how and when you got involved with Dream Realm Enterprises.
It was the summer of 2013. Victor had got in touch with me and told me that you needed a role for one of your productions. Once I got in touch with you and found out that it was for a Doctor Who companion, of course I jumped at the chance, because who wouldn't want to play a Doctor Who companion?
Tell us a bit about the character of Selena in Magic Monsters and Mayhem.
On the surface, Selena easily comes across as this moody, brooding, disagreeable person. But in my opinion, it goes a lot deeper than that. Her motivation is all about family and holding on to what she once had when she was happy with her family. Now all of that has gone a little bit topsy-turvy because her sister is going off and having all these great, exciting adventures, and she resents that. She feels like she's now trapped in the same existence she had before, and maybe she feels like isolated and left out from all of that. But I don't entirely feel like she's antagonistic, not intentionally anyway.
How did you get involved in voice acting and audio drama?
I actually got into voice acting because of a friendship I had with somebody. He was producing his own shows, and I became interested in listening to them, and he said, well, why don't you do some voice acting too? So I tried it, ended up really liking it, and did some voice work for other companies like Gypsy Audio and 19 Nocturne Boulevard. As far as getting into audio drama production itself, I again was inspired by that former friend to do my own company, came up with a different name back then. I started out by reviving a couple of shows for Jack Ward's Sonic Summerstock Playhouse. And then that led me into wanting to continue on with the Gothic soap opera from 1969 called Strange Paradise. I wanted to continue that on as an audio drama.
So what kind of characters do you like to play?
I really enjoy playing characters that are goal-oriented and helpful to others in solving problems. I also like characters that have more layers to them, like complexity to them, like Amara and possibly Selena. Characters like that.
Which would you say are more fun to play, the good guys or the bad guys?
While I enjoy playing the good characters, I have so much fun playing the bad guy. The characters I've portrayed have been everything from manipulative to burying people alive, and it's just so much fun because my friends will listen to me in these roles and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's you, and oh wow, I hope I never make you that mad. It's just so much fun.
Thanks for talking with us, Rachel.
Thank you for having me here today.
All right, that was Rachel Rumler being interviewed, who plays Selena Durnhelm, and we thank her very much for being with us. It was a pleasure to talk to her as always. She's worked with me on audios now off and on for a number of years. She played Amara in Doctor Who, of course, as mentioned in the interview. She did a great job there, and it's always a pleasure to work with her. She's actually doing some shows now, which are going to be coming out for DRE, which we'll talk about later, of course, that she's producing herself. She's quite a talented young lady, and a lot of great stuff coming up from Rachel. So it was great to talk to her. Glad you guys were here to listen. Hope you enjoyed the interview and enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you're enjoying Magic Monsters and Mayhem Book 3. We now head into the second half of the season, so we'll be talking to you more about that stuff next week, and we will be interviewing Persephone Rose, who plays Fitz Redhawk in the series. An interesting person right there, and a great interview with him coming up next week. So look forward to that, and so until then, keep adventuring and stay tuned.
This program is copyright 2019, all rights reserved, and is brought to you by Dream Realm Enterprises. The journey continues.